there, and welcome to our Where to Next video series. I'm so excited to be joined today with Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones is from Highland Dream Tours. He is a tour guide based in Scotland, and he was actually my tour guide. I can't speak enough great words about him. I'm sure as we go along through this, I'll just gush over him. He is an amazing person, an amazing tour guide. He's so knowledgeable. If you know the history between Murdoch travel and Scotland, you know how entwined we all are into each other. And Andrew just made me feel so at home in Scotland for my first visit. I can't wait to go back. But Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so glad that you agreed to participate.
Oh, it's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me, Jeff.
No problem. So everybody, just so you know, Andrew doesn't do anything half-hearted. So he's actually, even though in the video you'll only see him from here, he's actually in the full Scottish setup today. And so we just wanted to show you, this is what you're gonna get when you get Andrew in Scotland. This is what you're gonna get. So Andrew, we're here today to talk, a little bit about Scotland. And obviously with your expertise of the destination, hoping that you can give our clients a little bit of insight on why you think that they should want to visit Scotland and why it's so popular.
Scotland's just a wonderful place. It's relatively small, only 30,000 square miles. But within that 30,000 square miles, you have got some unique landscapes that you're never going to see anywhere else. The scenery is spectacular. It's very varied. We've got over 12,000 miles of coastline, over 700 islands. Scotland should be famous for its beaches. It has some of the most spectacular, stunning, beautiful golden sand beaches in the world. Unfortunately, we don't get the kind of sunshine and the temperatures where you'd want to lay on those beaches in a bikini. But we've got majestic mountains. They're incredibly old. They've been worn down by millions of years of glaciation and weathering. We've got spectacular glens, that's valleys, and lochs. We've got over 30,000 lochs, that's lakes, in Scotland. So there's so much going on with the scenery that every time you sort of go around another corner, you just stand there and go, wow, you just marvel at the scenery. It is a photographer's paradise. It is a paradise for geologists. If you're into geology at all, Scotland is really the home of geology. And that's before you get into the history. We've got over 7,000 years of human history. You can go back to the standing stones, places like Callanish. Up in Orkney, you've got Skara Brae, which is homes that are over 5,500 years old, with indoor plumbing, with indoor toilets. 5,500 years old. That is something that I find incredible. Then, probably more famous, you've got William Wallace of Braveheart fame. Robert the Bruce, if you've seen the movie The Outlaw King. If you haven't seen The Outlaw King, go and watch it. It's brilliant. The Mary Queen of Scots movie obviously focuses on our most famous queen. And then there's the Outlander TV show, which focuses on the Jacobites. That is all incredible history from Scotland. Then you've got our culture. You've got some unique things in Scotland. Obviously, the kilt and the Highland dress, whiskey, golf, bagpipes. There's a lot of things that you think of when you think of Scotland.
Yeah.
You've got our food. We've got some unique food like haggis. You must try haggis whenever you're here. And of course, whiskey. Now, Scotland did not invent whiskey, but we like to say that we perfected it. So I will definitely sort of challenge everybody to try a good few whiskies when you come here. So you've got food, drink, culture, history, and just the stunning scenery. And also hospitality. The hospitality of the people of Scotland is quite something. We really are a very, very friendly people.
I can totally vouch for that. So just moving on, when would you suggest clients come? When's the best time to go to Scotland?
Do you know, there's not never a bad time to come to Scotland. Um, our weather is very varied. It changes minute to minute. Now, if you're a photographer, I would say you want to be coming in March or April or September, October. That is when the light is just perfect. It's amazing for photography. If you are on a budget and you need things to be a little bit cheaper, November, avoid Christmas and New Year, but from November to February, you're looking at everything being a little bit cheaper. It's not our main season, but be prepared that we have quite short days. The daylight can be pretty short at those times of year. And not everything's going to be open. Not every castle or restaurant is going to be open at that time of year.
Okay, well, good to know. All right. What experiences would you tell our clients that they must not miss?
We've got the largest arts festival in the world, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. That happens every August. Sadly, cancelled this year because of COVID. Running alongside that is the Edinburgh Tattoo. It's a military tattoo, happens at Edinburgh Castle, again every August. Never been cancelled until this year because of COVID. They had never cancelled even a single performance. It is a must-see. It really is. The tattoo and the festival. But if you're going to do the Fringe Festival and the tattoo, you're coming in August. Bit more expensive and a lot busier. Other things that you must see, you've got to go and see Edinburgh. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. You could spend 3 or 4 days easily walking around Edinburgh. But remember, Edinburgh is built on 7 hills. You are always walking up or down a hill wherever you go, but it's well worth it. You must go and see Loch Ness. It's probably the most famous body of water in the world, with obviously one of the most famous legendary monsters in the world, Nessie. You want to go through Glencoe. Glencoe is just stunning scenery, but it's got rather a tragic story attached to it. And it's just such a beautiful, emotional place. If you're looking for landscapes, you've got to go to the Isle of Skye. I'm also going to suggest the Outer Hebrides or the Western Isles. It's the same place with 2 different names. You've got some of the most beautiful beaches, mountains, scenery, moorlands, anywhere in the world. So it really is incredible. And I'm going to say one last thing about something that you should see once in your life, and that is Hogmanay. Now, Hogmanay is New Year's in Scotland. We have our own word for it. And most countries around the world, you have a bank holiday on January the 1st to recover from the hangover. In Scotland, we have a bank holiday on the 1st and 2nd of January to cover from the much bigger hangover. So Hogmanay is Scotland's New Year, and the street party in Edinburgh is the biggest in the world. The fireworks from the castle is just the best place to be anywhere in the world to bring in the new year.
That spot that you brought us with the rocks is that kind of jumps out to me as a place that if somebody was looking to travel to Scotland and they went on their own and they just rented a car and hopped in the car and did their own thing, they would probably never come across a destination like that. And
They probably never find it. That site, Clava Cairns, probably used to get a handful of visitors a day. But because of its proximity to Culloden, and because it's got links to the Outlander TV show, it's become much more popular. So in the last couple of years, they've improved the parking, they've improved the signage. Before Outlander was being filmed there was no signage. You would arrive, you could walk around the site. Scotland has no trespass laws. You have a right to roam in Scotland. It's one of our beautiful, unique things.
now another moment on our trip that always jumps into my mind, and I'm bad at remembering the names of where we were, but I just remember you kind of pulled over at the side of the road. We got out. We were kind of standing in like a valley, and we're just looking, and all of a sudden, you start your storytelling about where we are and what happened here. I don't remember the name of it, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot to maybe pick that moment out of our trip from a few years ago, but I just remember that as such it's a place where the average person, if they didn't have a guide to tell them what they were seeing, they would just drive through it and go, this is pretty. B, the the feel of where you were as we were standing there. I just remember standing in the middle of Scotland thinking, my God, this place is absolutely amazing, and I wouldn't have even known to stop had I not had Andrew here.
That's Glencoe.
Okay,
So
there you go.
Glencoe, there was a massacre back in 1692, February the 13th, 1692, and I think when you hear that story in that location, and again, if the mist is coming down and it's a little bit gloomy, you can feel it. It
Can
is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful glens. A glen is a valley in Scotland. But then when you know the history associated with that place, you can feel, the spirits rising from the stones, from the ground.
what kind of itinerary or what? How would you suggest people visit? I guess Scotland if they're doing it on their own.
I would say give yourself time. Now, I said it earlier, Scotland's relatively small. We're talking 30,000 square miles, and there's a lot going on. We've got a lot of history, we've got a lot of places. There's over 2,000 castles in Scotland. You've got all these battlefields, you've got the scenery, and it might look like a little tiny distance on a map, but there is no such thing as a straight road in Scotland. We have mountains, we have moorlands, we have lochs. Some of these lochs are 25 miles long. You've got to go around them. You can't go through them or over. So give yourself time to go and visit. Now, if it was me, I would say minimum 10 to 14 days for a tour of Scotland. I would start in Edinburgh and do a big circle. So if I was starting in Edinburgh, I'd maybe want to spend a couple of days looking around Edinburgh. And then I would head off, and I'd probably head off to the west. I would want to go to Kilmartin Glen. Kilmartin Glen is a small valley with over 600 sites of Neolithic architecture in sort of 12, 15 square miles. Very, very dense location. One of the best places in the world to go and look at Neolithic architecture. I would then probably head up towards Oban. Oban is the seafood capital of Scotland. Amazing seafood. You could maybe nip over to the island of Mull for a day. Incredible scenery, sea eagles, these huge 9-foot wingspans of incredible eagles. You could pop over on another ferry to Iona. Iona was the birthplace of Christianity in Scotland. Even if you're not religious, it is an incredible place to visit. Returning to Oban, I would then head maybe to Fort William. Fort William is the outdoor capital of Scotland. You have got Ben Nevis, our tallest mountain. Well worth a walk up and down. Take you the whole day, but the tallest mountain in Scotland, tallest mountain in Great Britain. It's beautiful. But be prepared, you know, if you're going to climb the mountain. Just a little further away, there's a cable car that will help you go up one of our tallest mountains, Arachmore. It's the 7th tallest mountain in Scotland. And from there, going up to 650 meters above sea level, incredibly beautiful scenery. I would then probably head over to Skye, take a ferry over to Skye. The mountains of Skye is where mountaineering as a sport began, but it's the second most popular destination in Scotland after Edinburgh. Edinburgh is a city of nearly 500,000 people. Skye is our second most popular destination, population 9,000. After spending a day or two on Skye, I might take another ferry out to Harris and Lewis or the Western Isles. Again, you've got the Callanish stones. These stones are again around 3,500 years old, in a rough cruciform shape with a circle in the centre, a burial chamber. And they align with about 7 different astronomical events, including the lunar standstill, which only happens about once every sort of 27 years. I think after I've been to the Western Isles, I would head to Orkney, driving across the very north of Scotland, part of what has become a very famous route, the North Coast 500. I would drive part of that across to Caithness and then take a ferry to Orkney. And you need a couple of days to explore all of that amazing Neolithic history of Orkney, plus a lot of Viking history on Orkney as well. Then coming off Orkney, I would travel down to Inverness. That would give me a chance to go and see Loch Ness. That would give me a chance to go and see Culloden, Clava Cairns that we talked about earlier, the cairns which line up with the winter solstice. After that, I would make my way through the Cairngorm Mountains, the Cairngorms National Park, down through Aviemore, a great sort of skiing, mountain biking, outdoor place again. Make my way back through places like Pitlochry and Dunkeld and Perth, back down to Edinburgh. So that would be probably my ideal. Let's see as much of Scotland as we possibly can in around 10 to 14 days.
Do you have any other tips or tricks that you can share with us?
Yes. There's a Scottish comedian called Billy Connolly, and he has a sort of joke where he talks about the weather in Scotland. And he says, there is no such thing as bad weather, just the wrong clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a perfect way to sort of lead into my point that you need to bring the right clothing. So you need good walking boots, or, you know, at least Wellington boots. But I would suggest a good pair of waterproof walking boots. You're going to need lots of layers. I said about the weather changing constantly. You want a good base layer, and then you want to be able to put layers on, take layers off, because the temperature goes up and down constantly. So make sure that you come equipped with at least a layer of waterproofs, a good waterproof hat, waterproof good boots. You might want, some warm jumpers, but you also might need the sun cream as well. You never know what you're going to get.
What do you think, like, if you had to give like a top 3 or top 5 of castles not to miss?
There's one from another movie that you may not know called Highlander, which had Christopher Lambert and Sean Connery from the 80s. And the castle that's featured in that movie is just iconic. It's called Eilean Donan. It's about 8 miles from the Isle of Skye. It is probably the 3rd most photographed and visited castle in Scotland. It's quite small. It sits on a little tidal island. It's a nice bridge to go over. It can get very, very busy, but it is beautiful. Edinburgh Castle is spectacular. It is probably the biggest castle in Scotland. It's the busiest. It's our #1 tourist attraction in the whole of Scotland. Millions of visitors every year. But it's well worth a visit. Every day except Sunday at 1 o'clock, they fire an artillery piece. It's known as the 1 o'clock gun. You'll be surprised how many people ask me what time the 1 o'clock gun goes off.
Probably not very surprised, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's worth going to see. Incredible history there again. The Scottish crown jewels are at the castle. So the Castle of Dunnottar is near Aberdeen and Stonehaven on the east coast. It's a much newer castle than Edinburgh Castle, but it's its location. It sits out on this little spit of land that's almost an island, and it really could be a Game of Thrones location. Beautiful castle, again with a lot of history, and again connected to the crown jewels of Scotland, known as the Scottish Honours. So that's my 3 favourite castles.
Perfect. Well, Andrew, I can't thank you enough for your time today. It's been such a pleasure to see you again.
It's been an honour.
To all of our clients who are watching, I want to thank you so much. If you are interested in visiting Scotland, whether it's on a tour or you want to do like a fly-in drive type of thing, give us a call. Reach out. We can certainly help you plan it. We are very well versed in Scotland at Murdoch Travel. So again, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.